So yeah.
I am also now recording.
Well, this has been busy. The world is busy, and I wish I had more time to do the thing that we're going to talk about, which is play video games. Hello and welcome to Who's Remain. It's Thursday morning, Thursday evening, whenever you're joining in with us. I am one of the co-hosts, Jared, and this is my gracious and wonderful co-host, Anthony. Anthony, say hi.
Hi.
Hi. That's it. That's all I get. We're still working on that intro thing. Maybe someday we'll add a snappy
we'll have it down, yeah.
fucking intro with music and fucking sparklers.
Nah.
And we'll both come out from behind a curtain, and we'll dance and drink coffee on stage. That'd be fun.
Sounds awful.
We were doing a lot of stuff. We've been doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We're still working on the Blood Bowl thing, so sit tight for that. But I've been totally engrossed in about 2 games. Obviously, Fallout New Vegas, very heavily modded, and Zero pulled me back into Phantasy Star Universe once again. I've been sucked into that. What have you been sucked into, Anthony?
Yeah, I've been right there with you. I finished Fallout New Vegas a while ago, but I went back and I'm trying to get all of the achievements, and so I'm playing a game now where I fight against my bloated file save and try to see how long I can play before the game crashes. But it's been really fun. I really enjoy Fallout New Vegas. I think it's a very fun game. I think it's a very fun game to just explore and go off in a direction and see what the game has to offer. It's been really fun. And then outside of that, I've just kind of been hitting the old classics, playing sports games, playing some wrestling, which you guys got to see last week, hopefully, and getting into football season, so I started playing a little bit of Madden.
Yeah, you know what? You know what, folks? Anthony, in his infinite abilities, edited that last episode. So I really hope that you watched it. Okay.
No spoilers.
I'm spoiling. That shit was fucking fire when I watched it. I was laughing so hard at those intros. But talking about Fallout, I'd love to sit here and gush. Just like we still need to gush about Mass Effect, I'd love to sit here and gush about my Fallout New Vegas experience. I've been floored by it, by the way. I mean, I remember playing Fallout 3 and thinking it was a pretty good game, but I was like, Fallout's not really for me. I'm going back to the sword and board days with fire magic and magic in general and cat people, whatever, But this game is just incredible. The companion system alone is already awesome, but then each nook and cranny, it's just like you said, exploring the world is such a fucking treat. Like, the world building is incredible, the storytelling incredible. It's a great time.
We've been really enjoying the survival mode. Obviously, your experience is different than mine because you took a couple mods to really push it to that next level and make it even more extreme. I'm having a blast. I loved the survival mode in New Vegas, the base mode, and I don't think it's quite on par with Fallout 4's survival mode, but it's just that nice little extra thing that you have to think about. You and I both do the exact same thing, which I really love, which is now that we've kind of established ourselves and we have a little bit of a home base, the planning of going to our next spot and our next mission, that is so much fun to me. I love sitting in my, my base is in Novak, and I love sitting in my hotel room and just sitting there going like, okay, this is how much water I'm going to need. These are the meds I'm going to need. These are the bullets I'm going to need. You introduced something to me, which I thought was really fun, which is the idea of like, hey, I'm starting to run a little low on this kind of ammo. I'm just going to shelve that weapon for a little bit, and I'm going to take this weapon out because I've got a surplus of that type of ammo. I'm just going to switch guns, and it's really been fun. I kind of get stuck in that headspace of like, I have to use this gun because it's the best gun for my build. And so I'm going to use the best sniper rifle, and that's what I'm going to use for the entire game. And it's been really fun to just kind of put that gun aside and be like, well, this time I'm going to use energy weapons, or I'm going to use pistols, or I'm going to use melee weapons. And that's been a really fun change. I like it.
Yeah, I think I kind of played more of a scavenger. I'm like, what do we got? I kind of role play a little bit that my character doesn't really know how to fucking, like, not necessarily fix things, but definitely doesn't know how to fuck around with the bullets. I really just started doing that the other day. I was changing out my bullets. I was using a shotgun. I found that double barrel Pause fishing aid shotgun, and I swapped all the bullets to the Magnum style ammo. Then it just kicks like a mule now. But I don't really use the gun. I've kind of fallen back into my comfort, just like fucking run forward and hit everything with whatever weapon I have. And I love just sourcing all the different weapons in the area. Like, if the enemies have melee weapons, I might pick those up. If mine starts to break mid, like, excursion, put away my weapon, start using whatever the fuck they had, and that's been really fun. But you're right. I did crank up the difficulty probably a little too much sometimes, I think, on some of the requirements for survival, because I just run out of water so much, and I'm just like constantly backing out of places because of the water or because my radiation level. I've got a mod that makes the radiation more dangerous, so I'm constantly like having to back out of areas that are heavily irradiated. Because it just gets too high, and the Radaway and the Rad-X and the radiation suits don't really fucking prevent it from building up. It slows it down, I'd say, but golly, I'll be like, oh, we gotta get the fuck out of here, Boone, or whoever I got with me, because I've been exploring the companions more. But yeah, I have the same base as you, by the way. It's in Novak right now. I don't know if I'll move. It's too cozy.
Well, the thing that I loved was, you had said what you were going to do was you were going to have little outposts, and you leave food and water and ammo in different outposts and stuff like that. And you've been pretty diligent about stashing stuff, but you just have a giant trash can in Good Springs that's like that's your loadout spot, and then you've got another one in Novak, which, by the way, Novak, hilariously enough, it's a no vacancy sign in a hotel. And they just named the town after that because it was like, that's the big prominent sign. I love little details like that in the Fallout universe. I'm like, oh, where you going? Oh, I'm going to Novak. And it's like, why is it called Novak? And it's like, well, that's what it's called. That's what the sign says. And it's like, we in our universe know that it means no vacancy, but in their universe, they have no concept of that. So they're just like, yeah, it's called Novak. It's so stupid. I love it.
That town, I don't know, something about that town. It's like the furthest you've been from quote unquote home when you get there, and then you get that room after you've like really helped out around there, and then you're like, that's where I live now. But I do run back to Good Springs. I got that fucking trash can. I've just thrown all the guns and ammo and explosives. And I'll be like, Chet's the store owner. The dumpster's right next to him. Like, don't fuck around with my fucking dumpster, or I'll shoot you. He's like, whatever, man. Quit coming back here. Hey, well, we'll be back, probably, won't we, Boone? And Boone's just like, stop talking.
Yeah, I know that your setup is much more, quote unquote hardcore than mine, because I just deal with the dirty water in the Novak room, and I just drink out of the sink. And meanwhile, you're going all the way back to Good Springs, getting clean water, going all the way back and be like, okay, I need 20 bottles. That should keep me going for about another 6 hours. It's like 20 bottles for 6 hours? The heck? That would last me a lifetime.
I think without sprinting or carrying a lot of heavy stuff, I go through only about maybe 6 bottles in a game's day. But if I'm like doing a lot of movement, which you are, I'm like running and fighting, and my water goes down fast. After about it's like like you said, about 3 days in game, I'll have drank all that water and then some probably, and to be like, fuck, I'm out of water. We gotta go back. And I've stashed water places that I can pick it up, but I forget. I also like make my companions carry water and food for them, and I'm not allowed to touch that food and water. That's their food and water, and they don't actually use it. But I get really immersed in games like this, where I'm just like, okay, we got to make sure we both have enough. I give them medicine. Like, oh, you got to make sure you got any medicine on you. I open up their bag. I'm like, what you got in here? And they're like, well, you quit going through my shit. I'm like, well, you're not prepared. Okay, if you would get prepared, then I wouldn't have to fucking mother you. You know.
I love it. That's the exact same way that I love to play. I love playing that way.
Yeah. What was it? Oh yeah. Shift the gears here just a little bit. Oh wait, you hear that? You hear that? Is that the phone?
It's phone ringing?
Is our
Hoosier Maine phone ringing?
Fucking Hoosier Maine phone ringing? Hold on, folks. We got to take this call. What's the caller ID say? Is that 0? Hold on. Hello?
You want to talk about having zero tolerance for something? Try this. I literally can't wait to get home for this. Got to do it now. If you're the type of person that's going to complain about
car?
a game that you're looking forward to not being, quotes, optimized, I don't know what to tell you. I hate you. So we'll leave it at that. The game comes out.
That's a strong word.
There's a difference between games that come out and are buggy and they crash. You know, the game doesn't load properly, like breaking, like Cyberpunk. That I understand. That to me is not an optimized game, right? If you're playing a game that comes out and the only gripe you have about it is you can't play it at 120 FPS, 300 FPS with your supercomputer. I mean, I guess you want to call it unoptimized by definition, but if it's playable, I don't know what you're crying about. I'm just saying. You know, when Monster Hunter Wilds came out, everybody complained about it being unoptimized. My computer is okay. To this day, I still, not once have I had an issue with that game. So I don't understand. Now, if I started playing the game and it was buggy, falling through the floor, game crashing all the time, game won't even open up. I played games like that. Those are unoptimized. But because I can't play it at 120 FPS or a consistent 60, I don't know. Sounds to me like you're spoiled. Anyway, that's it. Take care.
Oh, he hung up? Well, didn't we get to say anything? He just wouldn't let us get a word in there. All right, well, I guess we'll talk to you later, Zero. But that's a pretty good point. We're sitting here talking about Fallout New Vegas, and that game is extremely, it's got all kinds of jank going on. You were just talking about that, about the save file thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's something to deal with right there. Having to deal with, what explain that to me again. The whole deal with the save file in Fallout.
Yeah. So, obviously, back in the day, the PlayStation 3 was not loved by developers. I think there's a pretty fair handshake nowadays where the PlayStation architecture is very similar to the Xbox architecture, which is very similar to PC gaming, and then the Switch is kind of in there somewhere. So it's very streamlined going back and forth between console generations. Back then, it wasn't like that. And the PlayStation 3 version of Fallout New Vegas, it's much like Zero was saying, you play the game at 720p, quote unquote 30 frames per second. I've never got 30 frames per second. I think I was somewhere around 20 to 30 would be a pretty safe estimate of where I was playing at. But essentially what happens is as soon as you start the game, there's a memory leak. And every single time that you save the game, your save file is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And once your save file gets over 6 megabytes, your save is quote unquote ruined. And what will essentially happen is you will play for about an hour and your frame rate will continuously go down until it gets down to about 5 to 10 frames per second. You will have to restart the console and then you'll be fine. You'll be right back to that 20 to 30 frames per second range. Everything's good. It's just a memory leak and there's no fix on consoles for it. And much like what Zero was saying, back in the day, you just dealt with stuff like that. If the game was good, you dealt with it, and you were like, well, that's what you got to do. You got to restart the game every hour. Okay, hope I can finish out the game. There were no patches. There was no, the developer being like, oh, sorry guys, we had a rocky release there. We'll fix that up and we'll send out a patch. They literally did that with. I remember the DLC for. Was it Oblivion, and for Skyrim, and for Fallout 3, those came on a separate disc. So if you bought the original release of the game, and then you wanted the DLC, you bought a separate disc and installed it all over top of your save, and then it was like, okay, cool, now you can play the DLC. We didn't have internet back then. It was crazy. We lived in a lawless time.
Yeah, you had it, but it wasn't for downloading fucking video games. No. That's insane. That was an insane concept. But I just think it's really funny to think about Fallout New Vegas, and it's considered like one of the best Fallout games. And I mean, the bugs in this game are enormous. But just like you playing it like, raw dog, playing it the old-fashioned way on the PS3, I'm over here with mods. Of course, I've over-modded it, and that's causing a different kind of an issue. But with the mods, you don't have as many of those problems. And you still get some crashes here and there, but it's so baby smooth, buttery smooth, whatever. It's just an incredible experience, but I think I would probably suffer through any kind of issues that it had because it's so good. But also, I just think we have a higher tolerance for that, higher tolerance for lower frame rates. I've had some frame rate issues while I've been playing in Camp McCarran. Inside the mess hall area, the FPS just drops down to like fucking nothing, and I'm just like, do. This is pretty good. And then you leave that area, and you're like, whoa, what's happening? Everything's so smooth.
Yeah. Well, you brought up an anecdote the other night when we were playing, which is when you get to the Las Vegas Strip, it's broken up by these gates. And you were saying that the developers did that so that when console players played, it wouldn't crash because the Strip is just so big. It wouldn't work on consoles. So they thought ahead and they put in those gates. And there's a mod that takes them out on PC and it works fine. It's stuff like that that's just so interesting. That was a different time in development, making games. You had to think about the limitations of consoles, where now you don't really have to do that.
That's also true. And really just thinking about Fallout in general, of it being such an important piece of gaming history. We just came across this. We didn't really come across this. This has been going on for a while. And I'm sure many people who are listening probably already know about this movement that's happening in the EU, the Stop Killing Games. There's a video I'm going to link below. I think everybody should watch and check it out. But obviously I'm shifting gears here. And I really think of games as like this art medium. And like the guy goes on to talk about how they're similar to books and things like that. And I have a tendency to agree here. I want this medium, this art form to not be destroyed. And a really great example of that I've been doing recently with Zero, I've been playing the Phantasy Star Universe again, and that was an online game, which I think it had a main game, like a story mode. But there was this online version where you could play with your friends and do dungeons and things like that. And it's a really incredible game. But obviously, there's no way to play that without this private server that's been going on over in the Clementine. I'll put a link to that too, so you can check that out if you get interested and want to play an old MMO that is dead. There would be no way to play this game. And I just wanted to bring that up because I just thought that was such an interesting concept. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it, Anthony, because I just watched this video like maybe an hour ago. And I don't know if you got a chance to watch it or what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Just real quick, just to kind of give you like a TLDR. Obviously, I'm not very well versed on this, and I might be wrong on some of the finer details. But the very brief and very chopped down summary of this is essentially they're trying to put together a petition that makes it so that when a game comes to end of life, an online game comes to its end of life, the last patch that the developers make has to give some form of ability for the game to remain alive, whether that means giving access to private servers or making a game still playable online, but obviously the online will be taken out. Something, right? There's different varying degrees for each game. I strongly support this. I think this is a huge deal because, like you said, games are dying because the developers move on, as they should. We don't want them to stagnate or linger on a game when they could be working on something else. But at the same time, I don't think it's fair to dump a game off and say, well, we're done with this. It's gone forever. You can never play it again. And kind of when you mentioned the topic, I just kind of started brain dumping and thinking of all of the games that I had played where the developers essentially said, you are done with this game. You can no longer play this game. It is not available. And the first one that came to my mind was a game that is kind of a controversial in the sense that like it's an objectively very weird game, and it's Anthem. I know I've talked about this game before on the podcast, but essentially it's a game where you play as a guy in a mech suit, and you can choose what style suit you want. So there's kind of like the light assassin type, there's kind of the medium Iron Man type, and then there's the big giant like mech warrior Gundam type, which, spoiler of which one I took. And that game was so much fun, but the platinum trophy essentially took about 40 hours when there was really only about 2 to 3 hours of content. They had about 2 to 3 hours of story mode, and then you just kept repeating that over and over and over and over and over ad nauseum. And that game died. EA pulled the plug on it. Servers are down. You can no longer play that game. I genuinely think that game deserved, end of life service. I should be able to tell you, hey, there's this really fun online multiplayer mech game. You should check it out, even if you only play it for like a night. It's a fun, turn your brain off and go kill aliens type of game. You can't do that. The game is over. Another one that I always think of, and the one that I always complain about, and this is kind of my soapbox, but like 2K games, EA Sports, any kind of modern sports games, essentially their model is, I'm going to sell you a full price game. Next year, when you go to buy the game, the next year's version of the game, we're going to shut down servers on the old game, and then you can't play it anymore. So 2K is really bad about this. I know Madden still lets you play offline modes, but 2K, you can't play the games at all. If I try to get on an old 2K basketball game, nothing happens when I install the game. It essentially says, servers are offline, buy a new version, you poor. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, I wanted to go back and play an older game with some of the older characters that I recognize, athletes. They're not characters, but you can't do that. And I think that's so ridiculous that they can just turn a game off, and essentially it's like, we don't allow mods, we don't allow fans to fix this. It's dead. That game's dead. Move on. Buy the new game. And that's not fair. I don't think that's fair to the consumer.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, the developers as well. I mean, they spent time making those games and they're gone. I mean, you're talking artists, you're talking animators, you're talking musicians, writers, if there's any kind of writing. But I mean, even in the sports games, there's all this like writing that has to happen to create like these campaign modes and stuff. And it's just sad to watch. And you're just like, that's a piece of gaming history no one can access. I mean, that's iconoclasm. Right. That's destroying of art. That's book burning to me. That's destroying of our culture. And it's mentioned in that guy's speech in Parliament. His name is I think Ross Scott. Ross Scott, I think is his name, and he gives a presentation on the subject and is much more versed. Like Anthony said, neither of us are very versed on it. We just kind of back it. But I think that's something that, especially you and I, we talk about retro games all the time and all these old pieces of media, and how influential they are to us and culture. We can look back in many of the video games that we're talking about and how they were influenced by culture and how they have influenced culture now. I mean, just look at TV shows that have come out. The Last of Us, I guess not Star Wars, but kinda. But the Fallout TV show, the Sonic movies, the Mario movies. I mean, they're starting to bleed into other forms of media, and we've seen them even prior to that with like Sonic. He had comic books and things like that. So, I mean, these are. I think it's really important and something to think about if you haven't.
Absolutely. I think the big thing for me too is one thing that we really advocate is vote with your wallet, and they take that away from you if they discontinue those old games. So if I sit here and I tell you I really care about football games, you should go out and you should buy. I know it's not the newest one, but you should buy an older game and then just kind of edit the rosters and bring them up to speed with the newer rosters. Well, if they take away your ability to do that, you are forced to buy the newest game. You can't vote with your wallet if they monopolize that and they tell you have to buy the newest one or you can't, because the way it's set up right now, if you want to play a football game, and it's got the officially licensed NFL teams, the real deal, the real NFL teams, you only have one place where you can do that. If you want to play basketball, there's only one game that allows you to play with the real NBA teams, NBA 2K. If you want to play wrestling with the WWE Universe, there's only one place where you can go to get that stuff. So if they start taking away your ability to play old games, and they tell you, well, we just can't maintain the servers for that, that's not realistic. What they're essentially telling you is, go buy the new game and buy all the DLC for the new game. And they're forcing your hand. There's no other choice. I just hate that. I hate that there's no option. There should always be a choice, whether it's, whatever you want to say about only one company being allowed to put out one sports game. I think a lot of those sports games are really good, but, it's the flip side of that, which is that, where do you spend your money if you don't support the product? And so it gets muddy in the water, and I don't like that aspect of it. So I'm a really big fan of this. I like the idea of it. Obviously, like you said, we need to do a little bit more research before anything like that. I don't think anything is going to come of this anytime soon, but it's certainly something that keep your eye on and do a little bit more research on.
Yeah, that's another topic that I know that you get fired up about. Is there only being one sports game for each sport? Oh
boy, yeah. Yeah, that pisses me off unlike anything else. And you and I both stand on the same side of this argument, which is, if a company is forced to put out a game every year, the quality eventually degrades. So I think you can argue with a wall here. There was a point where EA Sports was making the best hockey game, the best football game. 2K was making the best basketball game, and it was perfect. It was exactly what the fans wanted. And it was because of all of this competition and all of this, outside influence. And then because you're making a game every year, you don't have time to make sweeping changes. So you just make these incremental changes, and the games suffered because of that. And I know you've said the same thing about Pokemon, where you wish they would really take a break and kind of take their time and develop things and make things better. You can't do that when you have a 1-year development cycle. And so, yeah, I can't stand the fact that, and the other one, the NCAA football was essentially held hostage because EA Sports was like, well, we're not going to pay the student athletes. They don't deserve to be paid. They're amateurs. They're not allowed to be paid. And so for 10 years, we didn't have a college football game. And then they finally bring it back. It's literally one of the highest selling and one of the most popular sports games of the year when it came out. And it was like, well, okay, I guess we can pay those college athletes a little bit of money if they really want it. It's like, come on. You guys are turds.
That's a whole nother bag of worms there. The sports games conundrum. I know you and I have searched many nights looking for alternatives to be able to play some kind of a sports game. Because I'll be like, oh man, maybe I should get a football game. You can teach me some football stuff. You're like, no.
Obviously, I want to share that world with you and my other friends and all of that stuff. But man, it's such a predatory world to get into, and I don't like it. I don't.
I mean, that's how we landed on Blood Bowl. Let's be honest.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame that the Mario sports games they're kind of in a state where they just kind of linger. I mean, at least we're still getting the Mario tennis games, but I really miss those RPG versions of those games on the 64. Man, the Mario Tennis 64 game was so incredibly good, and then they made this RPG version of it on the Game Boy Color, and you went through the whole storyline of going to tennis school and learning to be a better player, and then you like build your stats of your character, and then once you get them all complete and you beat the game, you can go ahead and move your character on to the N64 version and play with your like homegrown guy in the N64. I thought that was so fucking incredible. Like, that was such a fucking cool game. And they did it again with Mario Golf on the 64. Wasn't it the 64? I think we've talked about that.
Yes. Yeah, it might have been the GameCube where they did it for that one. But yeah, those games were incredible. Awesome games, awesome sports games. And the other one, I know we've talked about this before, but there's a series of games that used to only be on the I don't even think it was technically PC games. It was the old disc games, but they were called Backyard Sports. And essentially, it was literally like if you joined, or it was like Recess, where you pick teams out of a group of kids, and they're not athletes. They're not superstars. They're just kids. But each one of them had their own individual stats. And a lot of the charm of that game was in the hand-drawn aesthetic. You know, you're playing in a kid's backyard, and the foul pole is the shed, and the home run is if you hit it in the pool, stuff like that. The games like that where they try to be creative and recreate the fun of sports, those should be more popular. Those should get more attention. But it's never going to happen because, like, if I think of basketball, I think of the NBA, or I think of the WNBA. If I think of hockey, I think of the NHL. You know, I want the real product. I want McDonald's. I don't want to have the off-brand, and it's just impossible to have anything else.
Yeah, I miss old arcade sports games like NBA Jam.
Yes.
Those games are fucking awesome. My favorite hockey game was fuck. This isn't even probably a good hockey game. You got to understand, folks, I don't know that much about sports games. I didn't really play them. I played some back on the Super Nintendo and the N64. And this was one of them, was Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey. I mean, that was my first introduction to hockey for real. And me and my brothers were just beating the shit out of each other playing that game. And it was a good time. I always liked it. But same with soccer. We played, I don't remember what the fuck the name of that soccer game was that we played. I'm gonna have to look that one up for next time. But yeah. Sports games in general, I just think that some of you indie devs out there need to make us some good Mario sports style games. Make up your own crazy guys and get us some of those games rolling. Me and Anthony would love to fucking play them.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you brought up a really good point too, which is like, we grew up. We both went to the same high school, which was in a very poor part of the state of Indiana, and our school did not have a lot of these sports offered as an option. We didn't have a soccer team when we went to school. We still don't have a tennis team. We don't have a hockey team. A lot of these sports that, we were passionate about because we played them on video in the video game form. And it was like, oh, that's awesome. So what we did what any kids would do. We were in high school and college age when we started doing this. But it was like, we just went out into the driveway or the parking lot and we just played with each other. And it was like, let's go get sticks. For some reason, we all had hockey sticks and we all had, like a ball, whatever it was, a tennis ball or whatever. And it was just like, we'll just whack it around and see if we're any good. And that was a ton of fun. I had so much fun. Obviously this was more with your brothers, Max and Bryce, but playing roller hockey with them, that was so much fun. Just getting to learn a new sport and starting from ground zero and working your way up and working on basics and fundamentals. That's something that you say you never got to experience those kind of team sports. I never got to experience hockey, and yet I feel like I got close to that doing it literally in your parents' driveway, which is incredible.
That's true. Those stories you guys tell of playing out in the driveway.
Well, we were crazy. We shouldn't have been, because we're all too competitive. That's the thing, is me, Max, and Bryce are just too competitive, so we would take it too far, and we didn't have enough space, and we would just inevitably get hurt, collide into each other or whack each other with our sticks or make each other bleed or hit each other in the nuts with the puck. Or it's just...
Yeah, you guys are wearing like regular rollerblades and fucking bought sticks at like fucking Dick's Sporting Goods or some shit.
Yeah.
They just started playing.
Hell yeah. Could have gone pro.
Yeah, see, I prefer the fake thing there. I'd rather play some sports video game. Again, Mario Tennis. I say that all the time. I feel like on this fucking podcast, is Mario fucking Tennis on the 64 was just so fucking incredible. Had such a good time. I don't know. The sports games in general, I just like to see more. I'd like to see a bigger branch of sports games in the world. Fantasy sports games like fucking Mario style, Blood Bowl, Mutant League football, shit like that. I'd like to see that. To just get people who maybe aren't interested in the sport to then become interested because of that. Because I think I fucking finally started to really understand football playing Blood Bowl, even though Blood Bowl is not really a football game.
No, but I mean, we were, obviously doing our research in between games, and we wanted to, not only were we trying to win and beat each other, but we were also coordinating and helping each other and, sharing resources and sending stuff back and forth. To me, that's what I love so much about being a real life football coach, is learning something, learning a scheme, learning new information or new strategies and stuff like that. And then you implement them and you see them work. And it's like, oh my gosh, I want to tell everybody this, and so then you come back and, going back to Blood Bowl here for a little bit, but it was like, you came up with this strategy. We all had something that's called a cage, which is essentially you have a ball carrier and you put, this sounds bad, but you got to remember this is the universe of the Blood Bowl series. You put bodies around the ball carrier and you just use them as meat shields.
Yeah.
They get beat to crap, but the ball carrier doesn't get touched. And that's called a cage. You came up with the super cage, which came out of necessity. Essentially, I had broken your cage, and so you were like, I need a better one. And you just put another cage around your cage.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing it justice because I can't diagram or show it. But
someday we'll show you, folks.
yeah. If we can get the stinking clips downloaded.
We'll get it.
But it's like you coming up with that forced me to innovate. And so I changed my defense because you changed your offense. I love that so much. That's not something that you can replicate by playing the CPU, because once you know how to beat the CPU once, you can beat them every time. But me beating you will come back with a new strategy, and then you'll beat me. And I think that was some of the most fun we had, was going back and forth. The Amons of Nurgle, that team was undefeated, but I think they had a couple of draws in there or whatever, but they technically should have won the tournament. The team that I loved was the Skaven team, was because they got the crap beat out of them. They were the little giants,
Scrappy.
even though they were winning games.
They were scrappy.
They're like the lovable losers. Scrappy, yeah. And then it's like I'd go up against your teams, and if I was playing as the Amon team, I would just bash. The answer was always the same. I would just put my guys against your guys, and I would bash. But when I was playing as the Skaven, I had to strategize and think, and it was very reminiscent of coaching in real life where, maybe last week this strategy was really good, but now I'm playing your team or I'm playing Bryce's team and I need to adapt and I need to switch my focus and switch who the star of the game is going to be. I love that stuff, man. That's what sports is all about. That's what coaching is all about. And I loved it. I love Blood Bowl.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. We really want to share that with you guys because there were some amazing developments and stories that unfolded. I think, especially for me, someone who just like kind of blows sports off and I just don't really care about them. That like changed my entire view. That's why we want to share that 8 weeks. I mean, I grew so much. His football heart grew 3 sizes that day. When we fucking like rats.
Well, I think we went into that. Bryce, obviously, I think had experience from Blood Bowl 1. I had experience from playing Bryce in Blood Bowl 1, but really, like you said, you not only didn't have the acumen of Blood Bowl, but you didn't have sports acumen either.
Yeah.
And so you were kind of coming in this and being like, I'm excited for this just because I get to make dudes, essentially.
Yeah.
I get to make my team. I get to customize my team.
Yeah.
Get to give them little scars and make their jerseys colorful and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if this is for me. And then I think it was like the first or second game. Yeah, exactly. And you go into it because it's like, well, my friends want to play and I'll play because they want to play.
Right.
And then, it did take a couple of games, but once you figured it out and it clicked, did we start having fun.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, this game's really fun.
We made the joke that your undead team, it's like they're in the locker room and they're all dejected and then like the coach bursts in and he's like, guys, we can kill them too. And it's like,
and everybody's like, yeah!
And they all just erupt and then they all rush back out like they just got this awesome halftime speech and they just start beating the crap out of the other team.
Yeah, like that team was my whipping boy. I figured that I'd only be good with the orcs and those fucking undead boys. Like they were just getting their asses kicked. And all of a sudden my 2 mummies, like that was the greatest development. I was like reading stuff and I was like, oh yeah, if I put this, I think it's called guard. Because they already had Mighty Blow, and I found out if I put guard on them, it turned them into like fucking some serious ass monsters. And it was like I got it for both of them the same game, I think it was. And it was like the next game that I played against somebody, like those mummies were beating the fuck out of them. And they were like, wait a minute, I was able to get by these guys before. What the fuck's going on? And I'm going, yeah, what are you gonna do now? We're just fucking marching down the field to fucking fucking Michael Jackson's playing in the fucking background,
Yeah.
And they're just fucking smacking people.
The thing that I think is so special, like when me, you, and Bryce get together, that's like the peak D&D group.
Oh yeah,
right we spent
our core.
years playing D&D in that 3-man group, and so when we got to Blood Bowl, it was like stepping into old old hat. We're getting right back up on the bicycle, and it was like, we have to make a storyline for these 2 teams are mine. Oh no! And so we just instantly we had, every team had a storyline going on. I know you had Rogenwald, which was Bryce's D&D character, and he was mad that he had to do all of the work on the team because he's like the star player.
Bryce watching me play was like, why'd you put me on your team? I'll do whatever I want. It's my team.
Because, yeah. Oh, man.
I can't wait to share that shit.
Those rats that I made, they were all the NHL team, the Chicago Blackhawks, but I called them the Toronto Maple Cheats.
Yeah.
But they were everybody's name had to be a pun. You were supposed to just name them with a pun.
A teaser,
and
folks.
like I remember thinking like, that's what you're supposed to do, so we'll just do it and we'll see if it's funny. If it's not funny, we just won't mess with it. But like your orcs, they were like they couldn't spell correctly, so it was like spelled as if an orc filled out the application for their name.
Yeah.
Really, really obtuse naming conventions. And
Yeah.
it was just really good.
Yeah, I can't wait to share that shit because it was so good. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to sit there. It's so hard. I'm pumping the brakes on the Blood Bowl here. So
I know.
So we can save that for the special times, folks. But we're kind of nearing the end here. I'm trying to think if there's anything I wanted to add this week. I'd gush some more about Phantasy Star Universe. It just being way ahead of its time. But what do you got? You got anything else you want to share about sports games in general?
Well, I mean, last episode we did our WWE 2K25 fantasy draft, and that's really kind of, again, much like Blood Bowl, that's just kind of me scratching that itch and you letting me indulge in that sports game moment. But yeah, I just love that stuff, man. The WWE games, those are very special to me because obviously I love wrestling. I love the storytelling of wrestling, the idea that you can tell a story in a match, but then also it's also that like trashy reality TV storylines in the background. I just love stuff like that. I love indulging in that fantasy of like something as stupid as in real life there's a storyline where Dominic Mysterio is dating this really hot girl and he gets a lot of heat as a heel because the fans want her to be single so that they can have her. Yeah. And so all he has to do is show up and he gets booed. Or I was telling you this is a storyline going on right now, which is there's a character named El Grande Americano.
Oh, I love that.
Who's a luchador wrestler, a American luchador wrestler pretending to be a luchador who's fighting El Grande Americano Original. Sorry, I said that backwards. El Grande Americano Original, who's pretending to be a luchador from America, fighting El Grande Americano, who's a Mexican, played by a German man. Yeah. Who's a luchador, and he's like super over in Mexico, and they're doing a mask versus mask match. It's just so stupid, and it's so fun, and it's everything that I love about, like, it's exactly what we do, you know? And so the wrestling stuff is just more of that, and I love it. You have said it before, the friction there is that you and I can't play together. One of us has to stream it, and the other one is basically watching and saying what they want to have happen because, again, 2K, they don't have crossplay. 2K. I can't play on PlayStation, and you can't play on Steam, and we can't communicate together. You can't send me dudes. And so there's just too much friction there. I wish we could play that game more, and we can't.
Oh, boy. If we both had a copy on the same fucking thing, I'd just be making dudes all day.
That would have to be like a weekly thing.
You'd be like, stop! This is too many dudes!
Well, no. What we would do is we would just have people keep joining the show, like factions and stuff, and then we just do like the matches would go from being like 1-on-1 to 2-on-2 to 4-on-4, and then all of a sudden it's just like a Royal Rumble where the ring is full of people, and it's like, stop it!
I think the first storyline we would tackle would be the Foundation.
Oh, that's incredible. That's
I already know. We start out with the original Brick Swine.
The people's
This is Bryce's character, folks. And then I would just keep making more of them, and they'd keep showing up, be like, no, I'm Brick Swine. And then they would all be fighting each other, and then be like, wait a minute. This is the house that Brick built. And then we'd have them be on the same team. Yes. Then they would start trying to take over all of wrestling. So then we'd have to start like having another faction I'd have to cover. We'd have to sit there and brainstorm. Oh, boy, that would be so fun.
Well, I mean, you know, the Foundation would need to prove themselves as a faction because we already have a couple established factions. You have the Red Singlet. You have the Red Singlet Foundation or whatever they're called.
The Red Singlet Gang.
You Red Singlet Gang, of course. I've got the mustache wars that are going on right now.
That's true.
We're trying to determine who has the best mustache. There's a lot going on. Let
me just say, I think the greatest thing about wrestling in general, I think, is why you like it, is it's got the sportsmanship stuff going on. Everything that is sports, like physical prowess, skill, like all this stuff that you have to be a sports person. And then it's got the fantasy part. Like, and it's like D&D meets fucking sports. And I think
absolutely.
I think that, that stuff technically happens in like football and stuff. From what I understand, teams have rivalries and stuff, and it's like it's very real, I think is what it is. But once you get to the fantasy part where it's not really that real, and they're not really going to kill each other, and that's what makes it the fun part. Then it becomes fun.
Yes. Yeah. I know some people have a problem with the idea of, it's like, well, wrestling's fake. And it's like, yes, obviously it's fake. You do.
The storylines are.
you do have to get over the fact that the matches have a predetermined outcome.
Those guys get mad for real, though.
Yeah, like if you watch the match and you get engrossed in the match, that's what's important. Those are the things that, I have memories from a kid watching matches and being like, oh my gosh, how is this guy going to win? That these odds are impossible to overcome, and then they overcome them, and it's like, yes, the hero won, the hero's journey or whatever. But like the stuff that's going on now, it's just insane. The stuff that they're doing, and you had mentioned it in the episode from last week, but a lot of the big push now is to get the women's wrestling up to where they're even with the guys. It's no longer like, where the women are the eye candy and they hang on the hip of the male wrestlers, and Hulk Hogan comes out and Macho Man has a lady on his arm and stuff like that. No. The ladies are just as proficient, if not better, at some of the moves as the guys. And man, we've really lost ourselves in just being like, holy cow! Like obviously the WWE side of things is really focused on the kind of that 4 pillars of the established wrestlers. And then AEW promotion is much more about kind of the younger talent, and the NXT has a lot of the younger talent. But man, that stuff is fun to watch. It's just, like you said, it's the athleticism mixed with the storytelling. And that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, if you like trash TV, folks, you're going to love wrestling. And we all love people watching,
Here's what I recommend. If you need a recommendation for like a quick little 10-minute YouTube rabbit hole, look up Timeless Tony Storm.
We'll just put it in the description for you, folks.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Timeless Tony Storm. Look up her work. I genuinely think she's doing some of the best work of any wrestler, female, male, whatever. Her storytelling is incredible. It's funny. Very lewd and inappropriate for children. Don't watch it with your children. But
this is not a children's show.
No.
Well, I'm assuming that we're going to continue that conversation afterwards. Not the lewd one, but just like more wrestling stuff, because he was cracking me up with that Americano things the other night. Maybe we should put a link to that down there below too.
Oh, that's a whole saga. Yeah.
We'll sink you into our brain problems, folks. But anyway, for now, I think we better get on out of here. I guess we're trying to work on our Indiana goodbye a little more, but
yeah. Okay. Well. See ya.
Hold on, let me get this Tupperware.
No, see ya. I said it already. End it. See ya. Go on, get. Turn it off.